Well, the first major hurdle for the president to get this authorization was just cleared inside a very key committee, and that is the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. They just approved authorization for military strikes against Syria. The vote was 10-7. Brooke, only 3 Republicans voted with the president. A couple of Democrats voted against him, but only 3 Republicans voted yes. Senator McCain, Senator Flake, also from Arizona, and Senator Corker, who's the top Republican on this committee. So it was changed a little bit from what we have been reporting were already changes that the Senate put together in a bipartisan way to really narrow the scope of what this authorization would be. It has a time limit on it, 60 days, with an extension possible for the president for 30 more days, and specifically says no boots on the ground. John McCain added some language that he said it makes him feel better that what the president insists is his policy to try to stop the momentum of Assad militarily is codified now. It would be in this bill, and so this is now going to go forward to the full Senate, likely to take a vote next week in the Senate. So this is, again, the first major step for the process, which is just beginning, but still an important hurdle for the president.
So we have this approval from this key committee. As you mentioned, one of the committee members here, this is Senator Marco Rubio, Republican, Florida. Let's take a listen.
In both parties, to disengage the United States from issues throughout the world. And it is true that we cannot solve every crisis on this planet. But if we follow the advice of those who seek to disengage us from global issues, in the long run, we will pay a terrible price. Because America is not just another country. It is an exceptional one, the most influential, the most powerful, and the most inspirational nation on earth. We must recognize that the world is a safer place when America is the strongest country in the world. When America doesn't lead, chaos follows. And eventually, that chaos forces us to deal with these problems in the most expensive and in the most dangerous ways imaginable. Just because we ignore global problems doesn't mean they'll ignore us. Instead, they become bigger and harder to solve. And sadly, Syria is just the latest example of that fundamental truth. Had we forcefully engaged in empowering moderate rebels earlier in this conflict, today, we would have more and better options before us. But instead, unfortunately, the president, with the support of some voices in my party, chose to let others lead instead. And now we are dealing with the consequences of that inaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rubio.
So to be clear, as Dana mentioned, it was a 10-7 vote. You had 3 Republicans voting yes. That included a huge vote from Senator John McCain. We heard him outside the White House the other day saying it would be catastrophic if Congress does not authorize this intervention, although, as she mentioned, there was an amendment on his behalf. Marco Rubio